women soccer players and men's soccer players at this level?
I did want to go over that real quick. It's like there's a lot of misinformation about like the viewership, and the viewership for the women's final was Fox reported 20 million people. There were another almost 2 million that watched it on Telemundo for 22 million. To put it in perspective, the Game 5 of the Red Sox Dodgers drew 17.6 million. The last basketball game, the NCAA championship, drew 19.6 million. The NCAA football championship did outdraw them at 25.3 million. But this, from a standpoint of who's watching the show, is just as advertiser charged as any of those things. It's a fourth of what the Super Bowl gets for sure. And if you add into the international audience, the numbers are not in, but based on the improvements over last time, you're looking at somewhere between 900 million and almost a billion people watching that worldwide.
And I'll say this, I think that there's something else to be said about the fact that a team that's good has to be worth more than a team which is not as good. How can someone play as a man on the U.S. men's soccer team and go out, when there's 16 teams still playing in the World Cup, and be as valuable as the team that has won the last 2 World Cups?
Yeah, that's something that they get a little bit wrong. I mean, it's really not it's not mostly USA's fault that the men are overpaid compared to the women. It's because the men play in the World Cup preliminaries, and because that they have access to a $300 million prize pool, whereas the women's World Cup has about 50 million total. And so, even for winning, you're not going to get anything near where the guy would get for 22nd. But in America, it
is the same company, isn't it?
No, it's like USA Sports, which is our representation as Americans to the FIFA. You know what I mean?
Right.
So in America, we do pay the men a little bit more than the women, but it's a difference of about 10%. And the one thing that is a little different is in the contract that was negotiated, and it's relatively secret, so I was just looking for people that had seen it. The one thing that's an advantage for the women is the women get a base salary, whereas the men get all performance based. Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like the men have a tougher time, but the truth is, if they just play in CONCACAF, they're going to get like enough money to make up that difference. You know what I mean? They don't even have to advance; they can just play in CONCACAF, and just by being there, they're going to have a piece of the FIFA money, and they'll make up the base salary there. But USA Sports recognized that in order to encourage women to play, they had to make it a situation where most of these women can do this as their only thing, or whatever their other thing is. It has to be an adjacent thing. They can be a brand spokesman or an occasional pundit on ESPN. But and the other thing is that soccer is a growing sport, unlike a lot of other sports out there. 7% of people, I always quote that thing about 11% of people say baseball is their favorite sport, 11% say basketball, 7% say soccer is their favorite sport, and that's up from 5%. In 10 years, that's up 5%. And it's among women, 11% say it's their favorite sport. Among children under 18, 12%. It's like this is the future, and what they did was pretty darn awesome. Pretty darn awesome.
For soccer.
For any sport.
It does not make my top 20 favorite sports.
How could it not make your top 20? Well, we're going long.
Well, you know what? I like competitive grass growing.
Cup stacking.
Bird watcher.
Synchronized lawn mowing. I like soccer. The thing that people think about soccer,
like a Shriner parade,
is that they go and watch one soccer game and they go, "Wow, that was kind of boring." And the truth is, there's a lot of boring soccer games. But the truth is, there's a boatload of boring football games, and there's a boatload of boring baseball games. There are good ones and bad ones, and it would be unfair to judge any sport based on like watching one game every 6 years.
I suppose if you based it just on their game against what was the country they ran up the score on?
Thailand. Yeah, that was almost painful. That was almost painful. Well, I would say this: you have a daughter, Professor. If your daughter came up to you and said, I want to play soccer, would that make you happy or sad?
It would make me sad, but the reason it would make me sad is because she is horribly uncoordinated, and she would fall down a lot.
I just say compared to like it's probably not the same thing, but if your daughter came with you and said that she wanted to play football, it would probably it would make you unhappy.
I would probably be okay with her wanting to play soccer. I would not be okay with her wanting to play football. I'd be okay with her wanting to play baseball.
Yeah, no, me too. It's like that's the thing.
Lacrosse, I'd be okay with.
We got some chatter out in the chat room. Chacha's out there in Holy Toledo. The cast of regulars. We are kind of we spoke a little bit at length at the front because we did have some actual topics between the All-Star game and such. Today, if you want to reach the professor, you can get him at Facebook at the 5-Minute Professor. Steve's missing today, and that's just it. He's just missing. You'll find him on Milk Carton shortly. Me, I'm Doug. You can catch me at Urban.
Wait a second. Are you suggesting that very soon we will actually find a milk carton? Because that's not going to happen.
Every milk carton you find, I guarantee will have Steve Human's picture on it. Every single one of them. And right. Brendan, you can reach Brendan this week because all I have to do is write Brendan, care of the North Pole, and I'll get to him. He's house sitting for Mr. and Mrs. Claus or off to hedonism for Swingers Week.
That was our first mistake.
Yeah. How is it up there? The weather nice?
Well, Anchorage just hit 90 degrees, so it's a nice balmy 72 at the pole.
We got Lucas, Lou Beery, and Lou Landers up at 12 o'clock doing their bit, the waiver wire piece. It is a little bit of a shorter week, but we still need to go through the rundown, don't you think?
Absolutely, and this week the rundown is brought to you by Teamwork in recognition of the 100th anniversary of one of the finest moments in Boston Red Sox history, when pitcher Carl Mays left the mound in mid-start and said he would not work for the Red Sox again because of the run support he was getting from his teammates. He then fulfilled his forever villain status by signing with the Yankees the next year. Teamwork. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life. Among the people on the DL this week, Jonathan Lucroy for the Phillies with a concussion, relief pitcher Chaz Rowe for the Rays with a flexor injury, and Jose Alvarado also for the Rays with an oblique injury.
The first two aren't that serious, but Jose Alvarado will be out 6 to 8 weeks. I think that the new guy in the committee is going to be Colin Poche, the relief pitcher. He'll get a save here and there. He's a pitcher real well.
Well, for those folks who had tickets to the Thumb Wrestling Championships between Yadier Molina and C.J. Cron, asked for a refund. Both are now out with thumb injuries. And Stephen Brawl for the Pirates, now with a shoulder strain, may be missing some time.
Yeah, Can we talk a little bit about Yadier?
Go ahead.
I know we don't have a ton of stuff in the rundown, and I know I'm not supposed to interrupt the rundown because we're supposed to get through it quickly, but I have a question about Yadier Molina. Because Yadi has been my catcher of record, and he's had a tough go of it this season, and now his thumb is injured. At what point in time with a player like Yadier Molina do you say, all right, I'm going to go in another direction?
I think that if you can find a comparable player, and there actually are a handful of decent catchers this year. Nobody is great, but there's probably 12 or 13 that are tolerable. Sorry, Gary Sanchez fans.
But Robinson Chirinos has done well.
Yeah, this is the same thumb that was hurt before. So he was out with a thumb injury. He stayed out for I think 12 days on a 10-day stint, and he came back because he's a guy that wants to play. Now
is it his throwing hand?
It's catching hand.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
How important is that? He's a right-handed batter.
Well, the problem is that guys are throwing 95-mile-an-hour heat into your catching hand.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's probably not going to do anything later in life with his hands.
So, that's where the pain comes. I
want to know if he's going to take up knitting. If this is his real concern.
Well,
in his old age is knitting.
His backup's name is Nitzer. That's the closest we'll get. Nitzner. That's the guy they're calling up. I would think that if you have a better solution in Molina, this is the part where you can cut bait, or maybe you can sell him off to somebody who still believes that he's pretty good. Year in, year out, he's going to be like the 6th best catcher in baseball, and he's just very consistent at that. Now
He's a good catcher, and he's a good enough hitter that he counts as an offensive weapon, which most catchers don't.
Yeah, one of the things that he does as a catcher is that he plays typically 15 to 25 more games than the typical catcher does. And because he's a decent hitter and he plays extra games, that means that he probably is going to get 2 bonus home runs, 8 bonus RBIs, 6 bonus runs scored just from playing more. You know, now that he's hurt, he's like everybody else, and so that kind of decreases his value a little bit. And so I do think you can move on Yachty.
He's not like everybody else. He's not Sandy Leone. He's not going up there barehanded with a big...
Well, Christian Vasquez is hitting the ball like you wouldn't believe.
Right. Well, Christian Vasquez is. Sandy Leone is not.
Steven Brault's is going to be a more than minimum stay. They thought it was shoulder discomfort. They did an MRI thing. They found out it was much more serious. Not that it's going to be super long, but you're probably looking at 2-3 weeks.
Sitting out yesterday, Scooter Jeanette has been out since the previous Thursday. Corey Dickerson out since Thursday with a groin injury, and Tyler Naquin for the Indians with a back injury.
Yeah, it's Corey Dickerson and Jeanette have groin issues. It doesn't bring anybody too exciting in. Derek Dietrich's in for that, and Corey Dickerson meant Milky Cabrera got some play. Naquin tweaked his back getting out of a car.
Well, it can happen.
So be careful getting out of cars. I think it was a foreign automobile. I don't know if that matters.
You know what, though? This is the thing. If I hurt my back, I can hurt my back doing just about anything. Sneezing, lifting a heavier than average cup of coffee. I can injure myself easily, but I'm a 55-year-old man. These people go to the gym. How do they hurt themselves doing everyday tasks?
I don't know, but I really don't know. There is such a thing as being in too good of shape, believe it or not, where like if you like do too much muscle work. Like I remember in
Doug, between you and I and Brendan, I believe that is a unicorn we're chasing.
No, like
we might one day be too fit.
When I was in high school, there were like football players who, they were running backs, whatever, and they would do all this weightlifting, and because of the weightlifting, their muscles would be tighter, and they would pop their hamstring more often. Maybe there's something along those lines. I don't know exactly, but yeah, it always tracks you up. That's why we always make the note. Tweak getting out of a car? What's this? Anyway.
Well, I remember when GM had that ad campaign in the 80s where they were like, never once in the 90-year history of this organization has anyone ever sprained their back by getting out of one of our automobiles.
Really?
And that's a fact. Yeah.
Wow. That is...
I don't know if that's true, because those doors used to weigh 1.5 tons.
Truth doesn't matter as much as you might think. This is 2019 America, where truth is relative. Truth sometimes is fiction, and fiction truth.
Isn't that poetry line that ends? That's all you need to know, on Earth, or what?
It ends. That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
Also out Friday, Alex Bregman left the game in the third inning with a chin injury.
Yeah, he took a bad hop to the chin, got 4 stitches. He might be out today, but he'll be back quickly. They need him, and that's not going to affect baseball play.
Adam Wainwright scratched with a back injury, and Danny Duffy with a bruised hand.
Yeah, Duffy took a ball to his hand. It was a batted ball to his hand. Adam Wainwright will probably start Sunday. They just moved him back 2 days. It's not that serious.
And San Diego prospect Luis Urias pulled from the game in El Paso after a swing.
Yeah, he's a top 10 overall prospect, and so you assume that's some kind of core injury, but I can't figure out what it is. No one told me what it was. None of my myriad contacts.
It must be the Star Wars geek in me, but whenever I see the term "to be activated," I always imagine like the guards that were in the Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back, and Lando Calrissian just hits a couple buttons on this wristwatch that he has, and like the guards like activate. So I just imagine all these players like in storage almost. Like Luke Voigt, he's been in storage for several weeks. He cannot tell you what's happened since like May, but he'll be activated today.
It's one of the keys of what we do. We tell people that as best we can, people that are probably coming back this week. Luke Voigt's coming back on Saturday. Jake Odorizzi's coming back on Saturday. so you can have your team prepped for it. There's Brad Peacock on Monday, Dylan Covey on Saturday, Matt Harvey on Saturday, Tyler